Hey, what's going on, guys? My name is Agent Psycho. If you guys remember, or if you guys have watched slash listened to my last sit-down commentary, I had mentioned in the very beginning that I had two topics that I want to talk about. I was going to talk about one in that video, and incidentally speaking, well, 2 weeks later, now I'm doing that second one. So fucking, blame my procrastination or just blame me for being a lazy asshole, whichever you prefer. Anyways, so this commentary, now that we're actually getting into the second one that I mentioned before, I want to talk to you guys about education. Just my overall thoughts on it. Well, not even overall thoughts. I'm just going to talk to you guys about my problems with it. My two biggest problems about just education in general. I'm not trying to bash on any particular system of education, even though American primary education to high school education honestly kind of sucks. To be honest with you, American higher education like college and graduate schools and whatever grad schools, yeah, are fantastic, since a lot of people from overseas come to America to study here because we have some pretty damn good university systems here. But not including universities or colleges, whatever. I kind of have a problem with American education, but whatever. Besides that, I went too far off on a tangent. So, the first thing that I want to say about education is the fact that I'm fucking tired of it. Obviously, if you are listening to this video, you are probably somewhere within the ages of either your middle school or, you're around my age or maybe even older. Most of my audience I know is, in that high school slash college area, so, or, range of ages. So you guys can probably relate to this, or, what I'm about to say right now. So, personally, like I said, I'm pretty tired of being a student. Let's see, I went to preschool, I know that for sure. So, for basically 16 years of my life, I have been attending school. From preschool all the way to now, I'm a junior slash third year in university. I've been a student. My primary occupation, if you even want to call it an occupation, is to be a student and to study and to take tests and all that other bullshit you have to do as a student. And honestly, I'm pretty fucking tired of it. And the reasons why are because education usually involves you going to school, unless you're homeschooled, which maybe a lot of you guys are. It's not too uncommon for me to hear about, some of my friends were homeschooled when they were, in elementary school and middle school, and they started going to high school, like public high school or private high school, whatever, after being homeschooled for however many years. Like, when you go to school, obviously you have a lot of rigid schedules that you need to abide by. Like, for example, in high school, I had zero period for 3 years in a row, from as a freshman all the way to being a junior. And the senior year was the first year and the only year of my high school career that I didn't have zero period. A lot of my friends had zero period all 4 years of high school, so I feel sorry for them, because at least I had 1 year where I could actually sleep in a whole hour. Which, trust me, it was a big fucking deal back then. So yeah, just having a rigid schedule, not being able to really stay up as long as I wanted to, like I can in college, and just be able to have the freedom of time flexibility. Because since I have to get up at fucking 6 a.m. every morning, or like fucking 6:30, whatever, to go to class at 7, I always have to go to sleep by 1. I can't really afford to sleep past that, or go to sleep past 1 a.m. because usually my body kind of works on a 5 to 6 hour sleep schedule. If I sleep for 4 hours, chances are I'm not gonna wake up, even if I have an alarm clock. It's like a conditioned thing in my body where I have to get at least 5 hours, and even then, 5 hours is like really pushing it. There's a chance I won't wake up on time. Something ridiculous like that, because my body's retarded. So yeah, just the whole thing of like having a rigid schedule that I need to abide by, otherwise I'm going to get punished by my teacher giving me tardies, late absences, or absences because I come in like fucking 20-30 minutes late a couple of times throughout the year. Because, oh, hey, look, you just slept in. Oh, shit. Sucks for you, doesn't it? And, yeah, other things that are kind of out of my control. And I guess that's the biggest thing that I could say out of this thing. Not only do I not like following a rigid, fixed schedule that if I don't like it, then it's very hard for me to adjust to it. Something like that. Even then, I wouldn't say I have a hard time adjusting to it. It's just that I'm gonna fucking hate it to the bone. It's just if you were to give me a time schedule and say you're waking up at 6 a.m. every morning, now I'd be like, no, fuck you, go to hell, because I do not want to have another schedule like that. After being used to 3 years of basically staying up as long as as I really want, because college classes usually, start at an average of 10 a.m., 11 a.m. for me anyway, every single day. On average, of course, I have some classes, and now especially I have a part-time job on Tuesdays and Thursdays where I have to wake up at like 7 and go work from 8 to 12 on those 2 days. That's obviously an exception, but I'll get to that later. I'll talk about, why I can tolerate part-time jobs and shit like that later. But for now, the first point that I do want to get across, if it hasn't been clear enough already, is the fact that I absolutely hate the fact that education systems usually give you some sort of set schedule that you need to abide by. And I mean, if there are schedules that I can physically choose and follow at my own volition, then that's fine. Then it's like, oh, I chose a schedule. That means that I have no excuse to be late to this or whine about, oh, I hate this schedule. Why did it have to come out this way? Because I'm the one who chose it. So it would make sense if I was the one complaining about my own schedule that I made. It's kind of dumb. So if I'm late to those classes, well, I've got no one to blame except for me. So I wouldn't get mad anyway. That and the fact that, what was the other thing I mentioned? I forget. I'm sure you guys remember, but yeah, rigid schedules. I fucking hate them. So on to the thing that I mentioned about the part-time jobs. The reason why I tolerate part-time jobs and the kind of early morning schedule that they pose for me from 8 to 12 on Tuesdays and Thursdays. That's when I work at my student grocery store, because that was the first place that I went to have a job, and that place at my school, we call it the Grove, and the Grove usually has openings for jobs like clerks, the people who work the registers, inventory stockers, the guys who put groceries and stuff up on the shelves for purchase, basically. They usually have a lot of openings because the Grove is mainly student worked, or mainly student workers work there. So that means that every single year, the students who work there kind of have their work visas. I'm not really too sure how to say this, but every single year there's always it's like the slate's been cleaned and everyone has to reapply again. I don't know if that's exactly how it works, but I know for a fact that every single year it kind of does that. So for like 1 month during into the first semester, into the fall semester, there's a lot of openings, and a lot of people can apply to become one of those people who work there, and I was one of the first to actually sign up and work there, so it's pretty good for me. Early bird gets the worm, as they say. And the reason why I tolerate that kind of schedule from working from 8 to 12, even though, at first it was kind of hard for me to get used to, like I was, at points where I was kind of falling asleep on a job while stocking inventory and shit like that. Like if you can imagine me, putting up like yogurt cans, like the Yoke Play, whatever the hell they're called, like stocking yogurt cans on the frozen section, or not the frozen section, the refrigerated section, and I'm just be like kind of snoozing off, and I'm like, oh, I need to go back to work. It was kind of like that for like the first couple of days, and I got used to it, and then everything's fine and dandy now. The reason why I can tolerate that is because I'm getting paid. As a student, you're not paid. You're paid in, different ways, and I say different with quotations because obviously when you're a student, your parents take care of you, they pay for your school shit. Typically speaking, I'm saying this very generally. I'm sure there are exceptions to this in some of you guys out there. So please understand that I'm saying this in a very general sense. Your parents take care of you. Your parents usually are the ones who pay for whatever you need from school, and generally give you housing and food and shit like that. Basic living necessities. Here in college, I'm still under the care supervision of my parents, admittedly. It's kind of a fact of life that my parents are still paying for my college education, and soon I'll have to be in a position where I need to quickly find a job and start supporting myself without relying on my parents, because that's kind of bad if you still rely on your parents at 5 years after college or something like that, because that's kind of pathetic. Not only that, but I also want to move out and be able to live on my own, because I feel like independent living is kind of like a status symbol to me personally. I mean, there's nothing wrong with you living with your parents as long as you have your own job and you can pay for your own shit. And if that's the case, then obviously there's nothing wrong with that, because you can easily decide to move out, but you're just staying with your parents because maybe it's easier for you, or maybe your parents just want you to stick around and you'd be like, fine, whatever. But that being said, the fact that working at a job and being paid for it, I feel like is one of the most rewarding things that a person can experience, at least in this kind of a society. You know, as a student for 16 years, you know, what is the biggest reward for getting a good grade? Like, say you got an A in a class or something like that, or you aced a test. What's the biggest thing that you're going to be rewarded with? Oh man, I got an A in my test. I feel so damn good. This is gonna be a huge boost to my grade, which is an arbitrary, you know, counter or grade gauge of how good of a student I am in a system where everything is based on a grade system that is so fucking arbitrary that it kind of doesn't even matter once you get accepted to college, and where no one gives a shit about how good your grades were in high school, except for the admissions team. Think about that one for a second. Grades are. I was going to transition this discussion into the discussion of why I hate the whole grade thing, but I guess it kind of leaked out, sort of inappropriately. I don't really know what else to say, but I guess I'll mesh those two arguments together. In school, unless your parents like actually reward you monetarily with, you know, actual cash, or they reward you in some other ways if you do really well in one of your classes or do really well in one of your tests, or just simply, even if you just get allowance, I consider you lucky, because my parents never gave me shit for allowance. They didn't give either me or my brother allowance at all, even though, I mean, generally speaking, nowadays it's pretty nice. Whenever I go eat outside or eat out with my friends, I ask them, "Oh, can I have some money to eat out with my friends?" They're like, "Okay, sure. Here's $20." Now, but that was like now. Once I'm in college, I don't really care. But back in high school and back in middle school, they didn't give us allowances because they believe, well, you shouldn't get money for being a student. You're being spoiled that way. Like, that's what they legitimately believe. If you give your kids money for doing well on a test, you're spoiling them. Now, I'm not saying this is like generally speaking, everybody gets allowance. I know a lot of kids don't get allowance. I know that. Or, you know, I can't assume that every kid, except for me, got allowances when they were in high school, middle school, elementary school, whatever. But the fact is that I didn't get allowance. I didn't get rewarded with any sort of, well, to be redundant, reward whenever I got an A in any of my classes or a really high score on my test. I remember on my freshman year in high school, my math class then was Algebra 2 Honors. Now, I was one of those kids where I was kind of a grade ahead in math, starting in elementary school. So every single year, up to like my sophomore year, I think, or maybe even junior year, junior year, I was a grade ahead than, in my math classes, a grade ahead than what I was supposed to be, because shit happened in elementary school. It's a long, complicated. Actually, it's not too complicated, but that story doesn't belong here. Anyways, so in freshman year, I was taking Algebra 2 Honors, and the first semester I got a B, and the second semester I got an A. Both semesters I was in a position where I was on the borderline, like the cusp, the borderline. In first semester, I was on a C bordering a B, and my final grade, or my final exam, would determine whether or not I would stick with the C, or maybe even worse if I failed it, or a B for, you know, for the semester. And the same was true for my second semester, where it was either going to be a B or an A. And both semesters, my mom was like, "All right, kid, I'm going to force you to pound math into your brain so hard you're guaranteed to get the higher grade this semester." And I'm like, oh shit. So what happens? Back then, if you guys have to remember, in my high school, I don't know how it is for your schools, but in my high school, our finals week for high school for first semester was after winter vacation. It wasn't before winter vacation, but it was after. So what does my mom force me to do? My mom sits my ass down for 8 to 12 hours a day, every single day for winter vacation, and she forces me to shove my ass and my face into my Algebra 2 Honors textbook. She makes me do every single problem in the entire fucking textbook, just like my brother did for pre-algebra, and basically made me fucking study my ass off. and it worked. Credits to her plan. It fucking worked. I ended up with a 79.5 in first semester of my Algebra 2 honors class, and but I had a really, really high score on my final exam. I think I only missed like one or maybe two questions. And my teacher was like, "Oh, hey, I can see that you've gotten a really, really high score on your final exam, and because this shows that you studied really, really hard, I'm going to bump your grade up." So, and I ended up having a B in the class, which is fortunate for me. And same thing happened with the second semester, where my grade was going to be a B, but mom was like, "All right, kid, ready to do it again?" So I was like, "No," but she forced me to do it anyway, and I ended up with an A. My final exam grade itself carried my grade over to an A instead of my teacher actually having to bump it up. So fortunate for me, that was kind of my success story, but I say success in quotations. Guess what I got rewarded with? The satisfaction of getting a higher grade in school. Back then, admittedly, it did feel really, really fucking good. But now that I look back on it as a college student, what does that fucking grade matter to me now? I mean, sure, those two grades could have been, if I had gotten a C and a B for my algebra grades back in freshman year, maybe the admissions team for my university could have looked at that and said, we'll drop this kid. He won't come here. Maybe they still would have accepted me regardless. But now it's like, is anyone gonna come up to me and ask me, "Oh, so how were your grades like in high school?" Like, I want to know how well you did in high school. So can you tell me how well you did in your math classes back in high school? No one's gonna fucking come up to me and ask that. So now that satisfaction that I had when it was back then, compared to how I felt back then when I saw my report card or my grade online and did like a fist pump, said, "Yeah, I got a higher score. I did really well in my final exam, and I didn't have to get a C first semester." What do I feel about that now? Absolutely fucking nothing. Those grades mean fucking nothing to me now. And even if I did end up with lower grades, after like fucking 5 or 6 years after getting those grades, would I care? Not really. Those grades are no longer really an effective part of my life because they're just fucking letters on a fucking piece of paper. That's not going to impact my life, nor will I let it impact my life to the point where I need to care about it and fuss over it and rip my hair out about it. However, even in a part-time job, this isn't even a full job. It's not even a great job. I only get paid $9 an hour, but I say only when other people in the world get paid even less. I know. I'm one of the better people, or I'm one of the people who are better off compared to the others. I know, so don't flame me for this, please. But I only work for $9 an hour. I only work 2 days out of 7, and honestly, I don't make a lot of money. But I can tell you for a fact that my part-time job makes me more money in 2 weeks than my YouTube channel in 2 months. I can guarantee you that. So, anyways, where was I going with this? Yes. Even my part-time job, I don't make a lot of money. In fact, average-wise, I can give you guys an estimate. I'm pretty sure this won't go against my terms of contract for my part-time job. But on average, I earn around maybe 200, 300. Those aren't exact numbers, like I said, but it's a good estimate. And that's not a lot of money. Let's be honest here. It's not a lot of money. Maybe to someone who's, especially to me, who this is the first part-time job that I've actually, well, it's not the first one, but it's at the actual first legitimate one that my paycheck is taxed. The government takes taxes out of my paycheck, and I'm paid like a legitimate employee. That kind of a feeling is fucking thrilling because I'm working for a cash reward. That whatever I receive as a reward for my work, I get to take and I get to put in my fucking bank account, and I get to buy whatever the fuck I want with that money because that money is mine and mine only. I work for that fucking money, and I get to use it however way I freaking want. I know I'm saying the F word too many, or I'm giving too many F-bombs, so I'll refrain from swearing because I know some of you guys don't like me swearing. And that's a really, really huge psychological, or it has a huge psychological effect on me because up to this point, like I said, as I've probably been fucking ranting about this entire video, as a student, there's no concrete or tangible reward for getting good grades. Other than the fact that you're getting a good grade, which that's kind of a contradiction in my opinion, because if you're working to get a good grade so that you can get a good grade, it's kind of like, well, that's fucking redundant, and in about 3 years or 4 years time, it's not gonna even matter. It's not gonna even matter. Like, what you did now is not gonna affect you fucking, several years down the road, unless you're planning to go to grad school or something, or unless you're trying to, climb the social hierarchy of educational systems here, or educational systems wherever. If you're planning to go to college, grad school, whatever, that's kind of important. But for me personally, what I got in elementary school, middle school, high school, I don't give a crap about. I could care less about that, or I couldn't care less about what I got as grades back then. But now, this is fucking money that I'm working for. And the best thing about my part-time, about, me having a job, is the fact that as long as you're not late, you get to keep your job. My manager is friendly enough so that, as long as I'm not late, as long as you're doing your work, you will get paid. And to me, that's like, oh my god, fucking mind blown. It's like, in education, or, in school, you make a mistake, you're fucking penalized for that shit up the wazoo, up your asshole. I always like to use the wonderful example of how, starting in high school, I noticed that my exams that had multiple choice questions on it were all worth like more than 2 or 3 points. So every time you missed a single multiple choice question, that's like fucking a 0.5% that you've just lost from your fucking grade, or maybe even 1%, depending on what kind of test you're taking. And I just fucking hated that system where you miss one multiple choice question and you're docked like 5 points just because of the fact that you missed one fucking question. And that, to me, that makes no sense. That makes no sense why you should be why schools should train you to be so fucking perfect that it'll penalize you out your asshole just because you made one mistake. Out of 20 questions, each question being multiple choice and each question worth 5 points. You miss one, that's fucking what? What's the percent on that? 20%? No, that's too much. Fuck it, I can't do math. There's the reason why I got a fucking C in calculus. But anyways, that kind of a thing is mind-blowing. It's like there's no room for error. And unless you're some sort of fucking perfectionist, or some sort of protege, or brainchild, or someone super fucking smart, or super fucking hardworking, which I am none of, to be quite honest with you, that's brutal. That's really fucking brutal. And so keeping this in mind, the fact that I work in a workplace where, there's ample room for error. There's lots of room for making mistakes, because making a mistake is the best way to learn how to do your fucking job right. That is a godsend to me. I'm just like, oh man, thank the fucking Lord, because now I don't have to worry about losing fucking $50 out of my paycheck because I made one mistake. Maybe you do work in a job where making a mistake does actually cost you money out of your fucking paycheck, and if that's the case, I actually feel really, really bad for you. I'm sorry, but, luckily I don't have that kind of a job. I can make a mistake and be like, oh, okay, I know what to do now, I can learn from that mistake, and I'll just make sure I don't do it again, and that's the end of the story. And nothing will ever happen to that again. Fix the mistake, or recognize that you've made a mistake, fix the mistake, and just get on with it. Whereas in school, if you miss one fucking question, it's like, wow, that's kind of like, especially when you're in a position where you kind of have to care about your grade, as you often are as a student. That's kind of like, wow. For me anyway, it left me feeling really, really fucking bitter, and that's kind of the reason. That's a huge part of why I really am tired of being a student. That and the other two reasons that I mentioned before. So to wrap up this conversation, because I've already been talking for 25 minutes. I hate school and education in general because, first of all, rigid schedules. Hate them unless I can set my own schedule, and create my schedule to my own desires and my own wishes, and to the ways that I want to build my own schedule. If that's the case, then having schedules is fine. Other than that, though, that's one of the reasons why I'll go on one last tangent here. That's one of the reasons why when I took an online course during the summer, I fucking love taking online courses, because usually Excuse me, I had a little hiccup there. Usually for both of those classes, most of my assignments were due at the end of the day. My teachers, the instructors for those online courses were pretty chill, and they were like, "Oh, as long as you just hand in your assignment by the end of the day, that's fine," you know. And I was like, "Fuck yes!" As long as by the end of the day, since it's an online course, I can just fucking sleep in however long I want. You know, I don't really sleep in that far often. Like, the latest I'll sleep in is maybe like 11, 12. Even, I hate to say late, but some of you that could be like really fucking late. But you know, I get to set my own fucking sleep schedule. I don't have to worry about, you know, waking up and getting that sinking feeling in the bottom of your heart or your bottom of your stomach that makes you realize, oh shit, you just missed your class, buddy, by sleeping in. Which I've already had done that twice this year, I think, which is bad. But to me, that's kind of habit. It always happens to me, even if I don't want it to, for some reason. But yeah, like sleep schedule, like I can just make my own fucking schedule. Thank the Lord for online classes. Anyways, so rigid schedules, hate them because that school gives you no margin for error. That school gives you because in a lot of your classes, if you make a mistake, well, sucks for you. There goes your grade, right? And third of all, no tangible reward. All you get is a shiny little fucking letter that says what your grade is, and that's that. You don't get anything else unless your parents unless you're given something outside of your actual grade. Unlike in a job where when you work, you're rewarded with money, and money is good because money is power, and money lets you do whatever the fuck you want. And yes, I actually mean that. Anyways, thank you guys very much for watching. That's why I don't like being a student anymore. I'm fucking sick of it, and I want to get out of school as soon as I fucking can. Anyways, hope you guys have enjoyed the commentary. I guess let me know what your thoughts are in response to this commentary topic below, and I'll see you guys later.